So in terms of setup, as we said before, much improved grip, okay? Grip now getting a bit stronger. Could, if we're being honest, be a little bit stronger. I don't want to sort of work too much of that to start with. So again, but we're talking such a small little margin. If we go too much now and start working on this hip, we'll get so screwed up in your head. You're like, hang on, what we're doing, kind of. So just stick with one thing at a time. The grip now is at the moment comfortable.
Yeah.
You have an ability with that grip to return the club back square as you proved, okay? So it doesn't need to be much of an issue now when we're working this backswing, okay? What you did have, as we said, this is your trail side, your right side. As you went back, slid that knee through that. As you said, you see the left leg now kind of solid and sort of straightish and quite supported, but your hips have slid so far to the right there. As you see, that right knee now is buckling quite a bit, yeah? Mm-hmm. What you want to try and do is get this leg to be a bit more of a, bit straighter as this one kind of bends in that way, as this left hip's going this way, this right's going around this way. So you're kind of turning a bit more this way, not sliding, okay? Yeah. Now, as you can see, when you went back, because of that slide with the hips, how long and collapsed your backswing is. So that position there now, it doesn't look like it'd take a lot of force to be just sort of coming and prod you, and usually you'd fall to the ground, yeah? You almost like extreme balance there now, and of course, on a flat like that's kind of okay. Out there in the hilly conditions or windy conditions, you're going to be like, whoa, all over the place. So the top half takes the golf club away, and the lower half doesn't need to move too early, okay? But you can see now there, that to me looks a lot more solid. Now the knee's collapsing a little bit there. I wouldn't say a lot. This knee now is starting to sort of stay fairly sort of flex and stay inside the edge of your right foot, which is good. And again, the club's not going anywhere near as far as you needed before. So this collapse down here with a big sort of bend there and a lot of collapse here and a lot of collapse there, you're just not really in a very stable kind of position to return the club back to the ball. Now, because you're familiar with that position, you probably get some better shots to start with because you know what that feels like. Yeah. But when it's bad, it's going to be a bit all over the place. A bit ground behind the ball, maybe some thinny shots, a variety of shots, okay? If we can get the lower half being a bit more solid here, okay, now there's a little bit more leg movement as we just sort of complete the backswing than we need to, but that movement now looks a lot more solid to there, okay, compared to how much legs and knees are going on. There's a lot of movement there to the top of that backswing, and again, there's a collapse. You get to about there somewhere, and you sort of just hinge the wrist there. So there's two kind of big collapse. I mean, your body's not really moving there at all, is it? Just the right elbow and the wrist kind of going, and just a little bit kind of, I guess, out of control, out of sync, and a bit loose, to be fair, rather than controlling that backswing to here. Now, as you come back to golf ball, you can now start moving through the ball better. Whereas here, because your leg's got to slide so far, your right foot's trying to play catch up to try and get back to golf ball again. Follow through in both cases, very good. But that's kind of the same movement anyway. You know what that needs to get to. And I say, when you've got a flat lie and it's nice and calm, and there's no stress or pressure, you can kind of get to the ball round here reasonably well. Yeah. Problem is when it's an uneven lie, slightly dodgy lie into wind or down or whatever it may be, and a longer club and you're maybe not as warmed up as you are, this shot's going to break down a little bit. Then when you get a few bad shots, especially when you're trying to judge distances at the 100-yard shots, contact's going to be a lot more important in terms of judging distance. If you hit the ground a bit behind the ball or a bit thin, the variation now is going to get a lot greater. If you thin a 7-iron, it kind of just goes a bit low, but it kind of goes the sort of right yardage, yeah? You thin a wedge, it's like ta-da, across the back of the green. You hit a wedge a bit fat, you're halfway. So making it a lot harder then to judge distance, plus as well, trying to know how far back around that circle you need to go. Okay, if we can get a nice turn of the shoulders and, okay, right, I want to go to 50 yards, it's 50 yards is here. 75 yards if I was not down here now. So when you went back, there was kind of 20 yards, yeah? That's a 25-yard backswing. What felt to you here was actually about here somewhere, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, that's probably more your 75. There's your 50, 75, 100, 75, 50, 100. Wherever you stop on that backswing is your power being created. The same way a kid kicking a football, if he stands next to the ball and kicks as hard as he can, that's 15 yards. Has a run-up, that might go 30 yards. If he runs back 20 yards over there and has a massive run-up, it's not going to go 100 yards, is it? There's a threshold. If you go too far, like in this swing, doesn't mean your golf is going to go 150 yards. You just lose control. Okay, so building up that kind of control backswing. This right hip there, Dave's got to start working back behind you, but in time. Don't go, okay, right hip, and slam it back. Yeah. Okay, it's got to be a blend of the top half turning away and the hip just kind of going with it, okay? Not just, hip, and firing it, okay? But definitely got to get away from the old slide with that lower half, yeah? That makes sense, yeah? Yeah. Cool, okay.